What does it mean to live in balance? In a world so full of noise, chaos, and contradictions, how do we find the stillness to hear the truth? Is there a deeper order to the universe, one that guides us toward harmony, fairness, and justice? We all seek meaning in our lives, but how often do we pause to ask, what is the meaning of the world itself? What unseen forces govern the cycles of nature, the flow of time, and the relationships between all things? In ancient Egypt, a profound understanding of these questions was embodied by Ma'at, the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic balance. She is the feather upon which the soul is weighed, the guiding force behind the rhythm of the cosmos, and the eternal reminder that the universe is held together by a delicate yet unwavering order. But how can we apply this wisdom today, in a time so different from the one she once ruled? How can the teachings of Ma'at help us navigate the complexities of our modern lives? As we embark on this journey together, consider these questions. What does justice mean in our world? Is it a shared ideal, or does it vary based on perspective? How do we find truth in a world of uncertainty and contradiction? What is the balance we must strike between our desires, our responsibilities, and our connection to others? The wisdom of Ma'at invites us to explore these questions deeply, to challenge our assumptions, and to consider how the ancient wisdom of balance, truth, and justice can offer guidance today. This journey begins with an understanding of Ma'at's divine order, an order that calls us to align with something greater than ourselves. Now, let us begin. The great primordial waters, known as none, stretched endlessly, devoid of form or purpose. From this ocean of potential, the first gods emerged, creatures of immense power, but it was not just power that shaped the world. It was balance. It was order. And in the heart of this order stood Ma'at. Ma'at, the goddess, was the personification of cosmic balance, the force that turned chaos into harmony. Her presence was not merely an idea or an abstract concept, but a divine embodiment of the very order that governed the universe. In the chaotic beginnings of the world, she emerged not as a creation of other gods, but as the core, the principle by which the gods themselves operated. In the Egyptian creation myth, when the sun god Ra rose each day to bring light and life to the world, it was Ma'at who ensured that the sun would rise in its time, and that night would fall just as it should. It was Ma'at who set the stars into their celestial patterns, ensuring they never wavered from their courses. The Nile flooded, bringing life to the land, because of Ma'at's will, its rhythm, its timing, its unyielding consistency. Ma'at was not a goddess of wrath or vengeance, but of balance and truth. She was represented by the feather of truth, light and ethereal, yet profoundly powerful. The feather was the symbol of her essence, delicate, yet bearing the weight of universal law. To live in harmony with Ma'at was to live a life of balance, integrity, and alignment with the divine forces that shaped all existence. Her image was often depicted as a woman, wearing an ostrich feather on her head. The feather was her defining symbol, and it spoke of her role in ensuring that all things were in their right place. It was a symbol of judgment, but also of purity and clarity. The feather was light, yet it bore the responsibility of upholding cosmic truth. In the court of the gods, Ma'at was often seen standing next to Ra or sitting alongside him as he judged the actions of the gods and mortals alike. As the personification of divine order, Ma'at had the authority to weigh the hearts of men and gods, to measure the truth of their actions, and to ensure that they conformed to the greater cosmic harmony. Yet Ma'at was not a passive force. She was active in maintaining the balance of the universe. The gods themselves looked to her for guidance in matters of justice and truth. She stood as the ultimate judge of right and wrong, but not from a place of emotion or bias. Ma'at's judgments were based on the deep laws of nature, on a higher order that governed all things. The great pharaohs of Egypt were seen as the earthly embodiments of Ma'at. They ruled in her name, charged with maintaining the balance of their kingdom. The pharaohs were tasked with ensuring that Ma'at was upheld in every facet of society, from law to agriculture, from architecture to the spiritual practices of the people. Their rule was seen as a reflection of Ma'at's divine order. But Ma'at was not just a goddess of the heavens. She was deeply connected to the daily lives of the Egyptian people. Her influence was not just cosmic, but personal. She was the goddess who whispered in the ear of the wise, who guided the hands of artisans, who tempered the decisions of judges, and who shaped the hearts of rulers. To live a life in Ma'at was to live a life of integrity, to seek truth above all, and to always strive for harmony with the divine forces of nature. Ma'at's role in the afterlife was equally profound. In the ancient Egyptian belief system, the soul of the deceased was judged in the hall of Ma'at. There, their heart was weighed against Ma'at's feather of truth. If the heart was light, free from deceit, greed, and injustice, it would pass the test and enter the afterlife. But if the heart was found heavy, burdened with wrongdoings, it would be devoured by the great beast Amit, and the soul would be lost. This judgment, however, was not merely about deeds or actions. It was about the purity of the heart, the alignment of the soul with the fundamental laws of Ma'at. It was a cosmic scale that measured not just the external actions of the deceased, but their internal truth, the truth of their character, the harmony of their spirit. Ma'at was, and still is, a guiding force, a divine law-keeper of the universe. Her influence continues to echo through the ages, not as a distant memory, but as a living principle, calling humanity back to balance, to truth, and to harmony with the world around them. Her wisdom speaks to us from the ancient temples of Egypt, from the sacred tombs of the pharaohs, and from the quiet moments of reflection when we align ourselves with the eternal laws that govern all things. Ma'at's message is clear: harmony is not a passive state, but an active pursuit. To live according to Ma'at is to live in constant alignment with the world's greater truths. It is to walk with integrity, to speak with honesty, and to act in a way that brings balance to oneself, to others, and to the world. In Ma'at, we find not just cosmic order, but the path to true wisdom and peace. Ma'at, the goddess of cosmic order, was not just a passive force that existed within the heavens, distant from the everyday lives of the people. No, she was a living, breathing force, present in every action, every thought, and every moment. Ma'at was the thread that wove together the fabric of existence, the invisible law that made everything operate in its rightful place. Her presence was felt in the very structure of the cosmos. The stars, the sun, and the moon all obeyed the laws of Ma'at. Without her, the heavens would have been chaos, stars would have collided, the sun would have burned erratically, and the world would have been a dark, formless place. Ma'at was the divine architect of the universe, ensuring that all celestial bodies moved in perfect harmony. The rhythm of the universe, from the cosmic dance of the stars to the changing seasons on Earth, was governed by her. But Ma'at was not limited to the heavens. She extended her influence to the world of the gods. In the great pantheon of Egypt, where gods and goddesses with mighty powers ruled the lands, it was Ma'at who ensured that they acted in accordance with universal law. The gods themselves were not free to act as they pleased. They too had to maintain Ma'at, to live in balance and order, to act justly and truthfully. Even Ra, the sun god, the ruler of the gods, needed Ma'at to ensure the continuation of his reign. Ra, the creator of the world and the giver of light, would not have been able to rise each day without Ma'at. His journey across the sky each day was a journey in accordance with the divine law of balance. The night would fall in its time, the day would begin again in its appointed place, and all of creation would remain in its rightful rhythm. Without Ma'at, even the gods would fall into disarray. Ma'at was the constant, the foundation upon which the world rested. Ma'at's role was not only divine, it was judicial. The Hall of Ma'at, where the dead were judged, was a place where the ultimate balance of a person's life was weighed. There, in the presence of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, the heart of the deceased was placed on a scale. On the opposite side of the scale was the feather of Ma'at, the symbol of truth and balance. If the heart of the deceased was light and pure, free from sin and deceit, it would balance perfectly with the feather. The soul would pass into the afterlife, living in peace among the gods. However, if the heart was found heavy, weighed down by the burden of wrongdoings, deceit, greed, hatred, it would tip the scale, and the heart would be devoured by Amit, the monstrous goddess who consumed souls that had failed to live in Ma'at. This judgment was not about punishment, but about the law of balance. To live without Ma'at, to stray too far from truth and order, was to bring imbalance to the world, and that imbalance had to be corrected. For the ancient Egyptians, Ma'at was not just a principle that applied to the gods or the afterlife. It was a guiding force in their everyday lives. The pharaoh, as the earthly representative of the divine order, was the living embodiment of Ma'at. His actions were the reflection of Ma'at's wisdom, and it was his duty to ensure that the land remained in balance. The pharaoh's law was Ma'at's law. His justice was Ma'at's justice. The pharaoh's role as the protector of Ma'at was more than a position of power, it was a responsibility to maintain the integrity of the world. Just as Ra's daily journey depended on the cosmic law of Ma'at, the land depended on the pharaoh's ability to uphold Ma'at's principles. The pharaoh's success was not measured by wealth or military conquest alone, but by his ability to keep the scales balanced between the gods, the people, and the land. But the wisdom of Ma'at was not limited to rulers alone. It flowed through the people as well. For the ancient Egyptians, the daily life of every individual was a reflection of Ma'at's order. To live a life in Ma'at was to live with integrity, honesty, and balance. It was about aligning one's actions with the greater forces of the universe. Whether in business, in family, in the temple, or in the field, each action taken with honesty and fairness was a step toward maintaining the divine order of Ma'at. Ma'at was the divine principle of truth, but truth was not always as clear as one might hope. There were many forces in the world that sought to lead people astray, temptations, falsehoods, and desires that clouded judgment. The wisdom of Ma'at called on individuals to live with awareness, to constantly question their actions and their motivations. Was their heart light? Were their actions in harmony with the greater good? To live according to Ma'at was to be constantly aware of one's connection to the larger cosmic order. It required mindfulness, understanding that one's life was not isolated, but intricately tied to the lives of others, to the gods, and to the natural world. Every action, every thought, every decision was an opportunity to align oneself with Ma'at's balance, or to disrupt it. Ma'at, the goddess of cosmic order, is more than just a divine force shaping the universe. She is a mirror, a reflection of the divine laws that govern the very essence of our lives. Her wisdom calls to us from the ancient temples, from the scrolls of the scribes, and from the quiet moments of our own hearts. She invites us to live in harmony, not just with the world, but with ourselves. To understand Ma'at, one must look inward. The heart, in ancient Egyptian thought, was the seat of the soul. It was not just a physical organ, but the essence of who we were, our thoughts, our emotions, our choices. Ma'at's wisdom teaches us that the balance of the universe begins within. The scales of Ma'at, which weight the hearts of the deceased, remind us that true balance is not external, It starts with our inner alignment with truth. Ma'at's feather of truth symbolizes purity, lightness, and the absence of burden. But to live in alignment with her, we must ask ourselves, what weighs down our hearts? What beliefs, what fears, what desires cloud our ability to see clearly? The heart that is heavy with anger, resentment, or falsehood cannot find balance, just as the world cannot find balance if its people do not live in truth. The weight of dishonesty, even in small things, disrupts the flow of Ma'at. When we lie to others, or even to ourselves, we tip the scales of Ma'at. Each misstep, each untruth, is a small but significant shift in the universal balance. But to live in harmony with Ma'at is to live with the understanding that truth is not always obvious and not always comfortable. Truth requires us to look deeply at ourselves, to ask hard questions, and to make difficult choices. In the Egyptian worldview, everything had its rightful place. The gods, the land, the seasons, everything was interwoven in a delicate balance. The same is true for us. Ma'at calls us to understand that we are not separate from the world around us, we are an integral part of it. Every thought, every action, every word we speak ripples out into the world, affecting the balance in ways we may never fully understand. Ma'at asks us to live with a sense of responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to the greater whole. She teaches us that our actions impact not only our own lives, but the lives of others and the world itself. To live in Ma'at is to honor the interconnectedness of all things, recognizing that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others. In ancient Egypt, this wisdom was reflected in the idea that the pharaoh's rule must be just, as the health of the entire kingdom rested on his ability to uphold Ma'at. In our own lives, we too are called to be the guardians of Ma'at. It's not a duty bestowed upon a single person or group, it is a responsibility shared by all. In our relationships, in our work, in our communities, we must seek to uphold the principles of Ma'at. We must strive for justice, for fairness, for balance. The choices we make every day, how we treat others, how we treat the planet, how we treat ourselves, are all opportunities to live in Ma'at. But how do we know if we are living in Ma'at? How do we measure whether our hearts are light? The answer lies in the stillness of reflection. Just as the ancient Egyptians believed that the gods weighed the hearts of the deceased, so too must we weigh our hearts in the light of truth. When we feel weighed down, when we feel out of balance, it is often because something is misaligned. Ma'at teaches us that the way back to balance is through self-awareness, through mindfulness, through the courage to face the truth of our actions and our intentions. One of the most powerful aspects of Ma'at's wisdom is her call for us to seek equilibrium in all aspects of our lives. It's not just about big decisions or grand gestures. It's about the small, everyday choices that build the foundation of our lives. How do we speak to others? Are our words in alignment with truth and kindness? How do we spend our time and energy? Are we in harmony with the rhythms of nature, or do we act in ways that create disruption? In our modern world, we face countless distractions, pressures, and forces that pull us away from balance. The pace of life often encourages us to act impulsively, to chase after fleeting desires, to overlook the quiet wisdom that Ma'at offers. But it is precisely in these moments of chaos that we must remember her teachings. To live in Ma'at is to resist the urge to rush, to take a step back, to listen to the stillness within. It is to live with intention, with awareness, and with respect for the sacredness of all things. Ma'at's wisdom, though ancient, is timeless. The goddess who upheld the balance of the cosmos still calls to us today, urging us to find harmony in our hearts, in our relationships, and in our connection to the world around us. Her feather of truth is not just a symbol, it is a challenge, a call to live with integrity, to align ourselves with the divine order, and to bring balance to every aspect of our lives. As we reflect on Ma'at's teachings, we begin to realize that we are not just individual beings navigating the world, we are part of a greater whole, a divine order that is constantly in flux, but always striving for balance. To walk in the path of Ma'at is to walk with awareness, to act with purpose, and to always return to the core principle: truth. By living truthfully, we honor Ma'at, and in doing so, we bring balance not only to ourselves, but to the world. Ma'at, the goddess who weaves the fabric of the universe, is not just a figure from ancient Egypt, she is a living principle, one that speaks to the heart of our humanity. Her teachings reach far beyond individual actions, they extend into the very core of how we interact with one another, how we shape society, and how we relate to the natural world. In ancient Egypt, Ma'at was the foundation of society's laws, governance, and social structure. The pharaohs, as the earthly representatives of Ma'at, were responsible for ensuring that the kingdom operated in harmony with the divine order. But Ma'at was not only for rulers, it was for all people, from the richest to the poorest, from the noble to the commoner. She called on all to act with justice, fairness, and balance, values that are as relevant today as they were millennia ago. In the present day, the world is a different place, and yet the need for Ma'at's wisdom has never been more pressing. We live in an era of complexity and division, where the forces of injustice, inequality, and chaos seem to pull us further away from harmony. The world is filled with challenges, environmental crises, social injustices, political turmoil, and personal struggles. But it is within these challenges that Ma'at's teachings shine most brightly. Ma'at's first great lesson is that justice must not be a matter of power or domination, but of balance. True justice is not found in revenge or punishment, but in the restoration of order and harmony. In Egypt, the pharaoh was the embodiment of Ma'at, and his primary duty was to protect his people, ensuring that all received their due, that right prevailed over wrong, and that peace reigned. This principle is not confined to ancient rulers, it applies to every individual, every institution, and every community. In our modern world, justice can feel elusive, often tangled in systems that seem unfair, corrupt, or flawed. But Ma'at's wisdom teaches us that justice is not simply the absence of crime or wrongdoing. It is the presence of fairness, equality, and respect for the inherent worth of all beings. Whether it is within the courtroom, in our personal relationships, or in the way we interact with the world around us, Ma'at calls us to act with equity, to ensure that our decisions are made with a mind toward balance. Yet, justice is only one facet of Ma'at's larger vision. She also speaks to the need for harmony in our collective lives. Just as the stars follow their courses in the night sky, just as the Nile floods in its season, so too must society function with a sense of interdependence, where every action is connected, every decision has an impact. To live in Ma'at is to understand that true harmony can only be achieved when all aspects of life, social, political, environmental, are aligned with the greater whole. In the ancient Egyptian worldview, everything had its place. The gods, the people, the land, the crops, all were interconnected. The flourishing of one depended on the flourishing of the others. Ma'at calls us to see this interconnectedness in our own lives. The well-being of our neighbors, our communities, and even the planet is tied to our own. We cannot live in peace if others are suffering. We cannot thrive if the environment around us is in decay. To walk in Ma'at means to be mindful of the greater web of existence, recognizing that our actions must always seek balance and benefit for the whole. This understanding of collective balance calls us to think deeply about our role in the world. Are we contributing to the harmony of society, or are we disrupting it? How do our actions, whether in our personal lives or in our work, affect the lives of others? The wisdom of Ma'at asks us to step outside of our individual concerns and consider the greater good. It asks us to act with compassion, to extend fairness and kindness, and to fight for the preservation of peace and justice wherever we are. In our modern society, we face constant distractions. The noise of technology, the pull of consumerism, the pressures of ambition and personal gain, they all challenge our ability to stay true to the path of Ma'at. Yet, Ma'at's wisdom offers us a guide. She reminds us that the pursuit of material wealth, while not inherently wrong, must never come at the expense of justice, integrity, or the well-being of others. Ma'at invites us to slow down, to assess our choices with wisdom, and to ensure that our actions are in alignment with the higher law of balance. She teaches us that the pursuit of success should not be a pursuit of greed, and that true fulfillment comes not from what we take, but from what we give through our actions, our service to others, and our contribution to the collective good. But Ma'at's teachings are not just about justice on a large scale. They are also about personal integrity and accountability. Ma'at calls on us to examine the ways in which we might be contributing to the imbalance of the world. Do we act with honesty and fairness in our daily lives? Do we seek to live in harmony with others, or do we exploit, deceive, or act in ways that create division? Ma'at reminds us that we are all responsible, not just for ourselves, but for the harmony of the world we inhabit. When we begin to align ourselves with Ma'at's principles, we become more attuned to the world's natural rhythms. We see the beauty in the interconnectedness of life. We understand that justice is not something we can take for granted, it is something we must work toward every day, in every decision we make. By choosing to live in Ma'at, we become instruments of balance in a world that desperately needs it. The path of Ma'at is a path of service, service to the truth, service to others, and service to the world. It is a path that calls us to live with humility, to respect the natural world, and to act with integrity. It is a path that asks us to be aware of our place in the greater cosmic order and to walk in harmony with all things. Ma'at, the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic balance, was not a force bound to the past. She was not simply an ancient idea, confined to the world of Egyptian myth and legend. Her wisdom transcends time, reaching into the present and guiding us toward a future that is in harmony with the divine order. The question is, how do we apply her ancient teachings in a world that is vastly different from the one she once ruled? The wisdom of Ma'at is more necessary today than ever before. In our rapidly changing world, where technology advances at lightning speed and social and environmental challenges seem to grow more complex, the need for balance, for truth, for justice has never been so urgent. As we move further into the 21st century, Ma'at's teachings can be a compass, a guide that helps us navigate the overwhelming forces pulling us in different directions. One of the first ways Ma'at calls us to engage with her wisdom in modern times is through personal responsibility. In an age where the world seems divided, where voices are often drowned out by noise and distractions, Ma'at teaches us to center ourselves in truth. To live in her wisdom means to live with a sense of deep responsibility, both to ourselves and to the world around us. It means choosing integrity over convenience, truth over expediency. In a time when information is constantly flowing and opinions are readily shared, Ma'at calls us to think critically, to seek truth in the midst of the chaos. She invites us to ask, does what we say align with the greater good? Does our communication uplift or harm? Does our use of technology promote unity or division? Every tweet, every post, every interaction is an opportunity to embody Ma'at's wisdom. The principles of justice and fairness in a digital world are just as relevant as they were in the ancient courts of Egypt. How we treat others, how we communicate, and how we contribute to the greater conversation, all of these choices have the power to impact the balance of the collective. Ma'at also calls us to look at societal structures, from governments to corporations to the way we organize communities. Is the world we are creating one of fairness, equity, and justice for all? Or are we perpetuating systems that benefit the few while leaving the many to suffer? Ma'at invites us to question the structures we live within, asking us to hold those in power accountable and to ensure that the scales of justice remain balanced. Whether it's fighting for environmental justice, advocating for social change, or promoting economic equality, Ma'at teaches us that we each have a role to play in creating a world that reflects the divine order. In a society increasingly focused on individualism, Ma'at reminds us of our interconnectedness. She challenges us to move beyond the notion that our success and well-being are separate from the well-being of others. The flourishing of the community, the health of the environment, the prosperity of the collective, all of these are tied to our own individual actions. Ma'at's wisdom calls us to think holistically, to recognize that the health of the world is a reflection of our choices. Take, for example, the growing environmental crises we face today, the destruction of ecosystems, the pollution of air and water, the depletion of natural resources. These challenges are a direct consequence of imbalance, of living out of alignment with the natural order. Ma'at calls us to restore that balance. She teaches us that every choice we make has an impact on the earth, whether it's the food we eat, the products we consume, or the way we interact with nature. By aligning with Ma'at, we are invited to act with respect for the planet, to live in ways that honor the cycles of nature and preserve the earth for future generations. Ma'at also offers guidance in the face of personal struggle. In our busy, stressful lives, it is easy to lose sight of our own balance. The demands of career, family, and personal ambition can sometimes pull us away from the truth of who we are and what we truly need. Ma'at reminds us to step back, to return to the heart of who we are. Her wisdom teaches us that peace and fulfillment are found not in external achievement, but in the alignment of our inner and outer worlds. To live in Ma'at is to live with integrity, to act from a place of clarity and truth, and to find harmony within ourselves. Perhaps one of the most profound ways Ma'at's wisdom can shape the future is through the creation of spiritual communities. In ancient Egypt, the temples were places where people came together to commune with the divine, to learn and to grow. Today, we may not have the grand temples of old, but we still have the ability to create communities that are dedicated to living in balance with Ma'at's teachings. Whether it is through mindfulness groups, meditation practices, or social activism that seeks justice and equality, we are all called to be part of a greater whole, a community that strives for harmony, justice, and balance. But living in Ma'at is not just about making external changes, it is about a shift in consciousness. It is about becoming aware of how our thoughts, actions, and beliefs align with the truth. The more we embody the principles of Ma'at in our daily lives, the more we contribute to the global shift toward balance. Whether it's through small, everyday actions, choosing kindness over anger, fairness over favoritism, honesty over deceit, or larger efforts to right societal wrongs, Ma'at's wisdom is the foundation for a more harmonious world. As we continue to grow and evolve, we must remember that Ma'at's wisdom is not a distant relic of the past, it is a living, breathing principle that we can embody today. It is a call to action, a call to live with integrity, fairness, and balance. The future that we create will depend on how we respond to this call. Will we choose to live in alignment with the divine order, to seek justice and harmony for all? Or will we continue down the path of imbalance and division? The choice is ours, and the time is now. Ma'at's legacy is one of eternal wisdom, a wisdom that will guide us, not just as individuals, but as a collective force for good. Her teachings are a reminder that balance, truth, and justice are not just ideals, they are the very foundation of the universe. And as we move forward, it is through her light that we will find the path toward a harmonious future. As we conclude this journey through the wisdom of Ma'at, we find ourselves at a crossroads. The teachings of Ma'at have been shared, but the path of balance, truth, and justice is one that stretches far beyond this moment. What we've learned is not meant to remain in the past, it is a living wisdom that can guide us every day, in every decision, and in every interaction. Ma'at's wisdom, like the feather of truth, calls us to walk lightly upon the earth, to align ourselves with the divine order, and to live in harmony with the world around us. Ma'at's call is clear: to live with justice, fairness, and respect for all beings, to live in truth, with integrity, and in balance. Her teachings invite us to examine our hearts and our actions, to consider how we contribute to the balance of the world, both within ourselves and in the larger world. Yet, the challenge is not simply understanding these truths, it is living them, choosing them each day, in each moment. As we bring this journey to a close, consider your actions today and tomorrow. Are they in alignment with truth, justice, and fairness? When you feel the weight of life, remember that Ma'at's feather calls for lightness and openness to honesty and integrity. Let these teachings guide you in your daily choices, knowing that even the smallest decisions contribute to the balance of the universe. Ma'at also reminds us of the importance of purpose. Every action, no matter how small, can contribute to a world that reflects justice and balance. Whether it's the way you treat those around you, how you spend your resources, or the way you care for the planet, your choices have the power to restore harmony, to create a world where fairness prevails. Ma'at's wisdom extends beyond the individual. It is a call for the collective. As you engage with others, remember the interconnectedness of all. Every person, every action, every moment is tied to the greater whole. When we seek unity and equity, when we act from a place of empathy and justice, we are helping to restore balance, not just in our own lives, but in the world itself. Take time for reflection, for it is in the quiet moments of introspection that we truly align with Ma'at's teachings. Each day offers a new opportunity to examine our actions, our thoughts, and our intentions. Are they in harmony with the higher truth? Are we living with integrity, kindness, and justice? The more we reflect on these questions, the more we begin to embody the principles of Ma'at in our lives. In a world that often feels chaotic and divided, Ma'at's wisdom calls us to stand firm in our commitment to justice. Justice is not only a matter of laws and systems, it is a personal responsibility, a call to each of us to live with fairness, to treat others with dignity, and to protect the balance of all life. Whether in our relationships, our work, or our broader societal structures, we are invited to uphold justice in every moment. Ma'at's teachings offer us the tools to live harmoniously within ourselves and with the world. The challenges we face today, whether environmental, social, or personal, can often seem overwhelming, but they are not insurmountable. By embodying the principles of Ma'at, we are empowered to make choices that contribute to a more balanced, peaceful, and just world. Remember that this wisdom is not distant or ancient, it is alive and present in each of us. Ma'at's teachings are a constant, a compass that can guide us, not only as individuals, but as a collective force for good. As we move forward in our lives, let us remember that the decisions we make, the way we treat others, and the choices we take in moments of adversity are all part of creating a future that honors Ma'at's divine order. May you carry her wisdom with you, may you continue to seek balance, and may you walk in the light of truth and justice every day. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May Ma'at's teachings continue to guide your path and inspire the transformation of both your inner world and the world around you.
If you found this journey fascinating, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more esoteric explorations into ancient wisdom.